Welcome to the Brown Girl Rising podcast. I'm your host, Urvashi, and I'm so happy to have you here. We are here to celebrate you and incredible, inspirational women of colour from around the world. Women who are breaking down cultural barriers, who are smashing through glass ceilings, and women who have experienced trauma and challenges and risen from these challenges. I'm so excited, so let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to the Brown Girl Rising podcast. Today I have my beautiful friend with me who has held space for me to heal along with hundreds of other women. Chintal is an intuitive, holistic healer, a spiritual life coach, a therapist who empowers women to heal, release energy blocks, traumas, and limiting beliefs, helping you transform from within. You use methodologies that are very new to today's brown girl, and I would say not new to our ancestors, however. And these methodologies help women reclaim their inner power, peace, sacred feminine self. And whilst at the same time raising vibration so that women can become more aligned to their authentic self. I love the healing that we've done from the women's circles, the cacao ceremonies, the theta healing, and they've definitely helped me kind of heal from the sexual abuse and stuff that I went through as well. And I loved our ancestral healing, or that was interesting. We'll talk about that as well. So I can only thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you do. So Chintal, welcome to Brown Girl Rising. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, and what a wonderful introduction, and thank you so much. It's always been a real pleasure to hold that space for you, and like many other women, to help you guys rise, because the more we do this together, the more collective we can make a change. I am doing amazing. Absolutely amazing, and really excited to be here with you doing exactly what you're meant to be doing as well. So
I'm so happy you're here. You're one of my true soul sisters, and we've only known each other, 3 or 4 years, and it's just incredible the journey we've been on. So look, Kim, the first question I want to ask you today is, what does it mean to you to be unlimited?
freedom.
Absolute
freedom.
I like it. So what does it mean for you to be free? What is freedom to you? Because it's different for people.
Freedom,
right?
to me, means being authentically me, being aligned to who I truly am from the core, from my inner core, not externally, internally. What is it that I am truly passionate about? What is it that I'm here for, my soul's mission? What is it that I'm here to do? Whether it's as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a therapist, as a healer, but also just for myself. What is it that I'm here for? And what is the space that I hold myself for looking like? I mean, for me, freedom is everything. Freedom from health, freedom of time, freedom of wealth, freedom of abundance. Like, it's freedom in every single aspect of my life. And that is true freedom when I've actually, through the work I've done, connected very deep to the core and true essence of my soul. That's what unlimited to me means.
I love that. When I think of freedom, I think of beaches, waves, just being able to be wherever I want to be in the moment I want to be in, whether it's meditating, whether it's yoga, whether it's dancing and all that kind of stuff. Just do what I want when I want.
Absolutely. And I totally see that, and I totally am with you on that as well. Like, it could be 1 minute I'm actually dancing different kind of music, next minute I have the choice to completely slow down and connect more with my energy and dance with kind of like, in a very slow way to kind of really connect with the energy. And I absolutely love sun, sea, and sand.
Yeah, so
one
day we're gonna have our little compound on the beach somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is our area
With our little teepee hut.
Yeah, can't wait. So look, can you kind of tell me how you became who you are today? Because you didn't start like this. I know that you worked in the NHS. So what was the route for you?
So the moment that it was around 2017, and actually we were on holiday. we were on holiday, and my daughter at that point was about 5, just going on to 6. And prior to going on holiday, I knew I was having issues with my health. I had everything checked, and everything was coming back as normal, as usual. Your bloods and everything they do, and they're like, everything's normal. But I knew something wasn't right with me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't when so I ignored it, because I'm like, well, everyone's saying it's fine. Doctors are saying everything's okay. So it must be me in here that's creating issues. So I ignored it, and I just pressed along, went along. And it wasn't when I was actually on holiday, I'd actually collapsed at the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And as I collapsed, I was out for quite some time. And when I woke up, all I saw was just floods and floods of people around me, and children screaming and crying. And all I'm hearing is the echo of my daughter basically screaming, "Mummy's dead."
Oh, gosh.
That is what really initiated my journey, when I questioned myself, who am I? Is this what I want for her? Like, why have I allowed myself to get to where I am today? What happened that time? And from that moment, there was so much, as you can imagine, when you're surrounded by lots and lots of people, the first thing you are like, no, everything's fine, because you're full of guilt, you're full of shame, embarrassment. Like, it was just a massive thing. And then traumatizing all the other children around, because she's then just been screaming that mommy's dead. And thereafter, when we went back to our hotel, it was like she wouldn't sleep at night, because she just wanted to check in on me constantly, that is mommy okay? And it really allowed me to reflect. I think that was the real moment of when I reflected on what's been going on. And that's when those 3 words, who am I?
Yeah.
And I couldn't answer it in the way that I wanted an answer, because all I was like was, yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a therapist, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I'm like, well, if I release all those titles, who am I? I didn't know. I was completely disconnected from my inner self. I was disconnected from my true source, my true essence. And as I initiated that journey of what's going on, and I started the whole journey of, and to be honest, when I look back upon that time, I look back and I look at what you have available now was not freely available then, in terms of the support. So all I had gone was to the doctors, and the first thing they're like, you're going through depression, you need to go on the pills.
They'll always try and plaster over it.
And you'd think I'd known better, right? Because I've been working in the NHS for over 20 years now. Like, I've always been great at picking stuff up in others. But
that was your truth. That was your truth, right?
Yeah, that was my truth, right? At that point, it wasn't really my truth, was it?
No.
So what happened was, that's when I ended up going through the whole process of starting to unravel what was going on. And many of the times I would have had people say to me, oh, Chin, just go and relax. Oh, Chin, just go and do yoga. Chin, just go and do meditation. And honestly, the number of times I just wanted to slap those people, because I was getting more and more frustrated. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. Why are they telling me to do all of that? Because that is like everything completely disconnected. That was an ego speaking. That was an ego stepping out. And again, it's not a bad thing with the ego. It's just the ego was coming in to protect.
Yeah.
So that's when the whole journey started. And I didn't know where to turn to, apart from, of course, going to the doctors, then getting those pills. And I looked at that box for a few days, for a few weeks. And I'm like, do I want this? Do I not? And everyone's like, just take it, because you're really like not in a good place. So I started taking it, but still something wasn't feeling right for me. And then I started with some Reiki sessions.
Okay.
I started with Reiki, and I thought that, yeah, I'll go and have a couple of sessions and my life will be amazing. Because that's, again, all I knew.
But did you know what to expect from Reiki, really?
I didn't at that point. I'm not going to lie. I didn't. Yeah. But I went for it because it was something my soul had kind of nudged me to. So I went for it. And I had actually done Reiki in my 20s. I had experience with Reiki then as well. But again, I got disconnected from it all.
Yeah.
And then as I started that journey, I had the Reiki sessions. And of course, as soon as you start any of that kind of work, it's like stirring the muddy pot. So you're starting to rise things. So things got a little bit worse before they started to settle and get better. As I got deeper into my journey, I started to do a lot of self-healing work, like starting to just write everything that was coming up for me. That's how I started. No structure, just started to write. And then with the meditation, because I used to be one who was constantly on the go, busyness was like my amazing, like, you know, the title of busyness, whoa, I wore it with pride at that point, because that was my coping mechanism. That was my fuel. So in a nutshell, what happened was, as I started going through this whole journey, I hadn't realized that I had gone through some next extreme levels of burnout. My nervous system was completely dysregulated. And then I started reflecting back over the years. And over the years, I had lots and lots of health problems. You know, even in my 20s, like the number of times my appointment at the hospital, I have 2 medical files at the hospital. And that was by the age of in my mid 20s. That's insane when I look at it now. And it was always like, okay, now you've got this, now you've got that, now you've got this. So it's one medication, then another medication, then another. And I just got to a space where I was fed up. I was fed up with it all. I was in a really dark space, very, very dark place. And I'm like, where is the light? Everyone says there's light. Where is the light? I could never understand when people used to say there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't until I went through my experience and the journey that I was able to then understand it. My biggest thing was, what is it that I want for my children as well? Because I was such a snappy mother. I was such an irritable person. Like the environment in the house felt very, you know, like you're treading on eggshells. And actually, I was the one contributing to that.
You're the one putting the eggshells down.
So you know, you always get to a point where you want to point the finger at others and blame others. But actually, I had to start looking at me. Where am I contributing to all of this? So the moment I stopped blaming and the moment I started to take responsibility for my own emotions and my own actions and my own thoughts and my own patterns is when I started to see big shifts happening. So my journey started with, that's how the whole journey started. And I had to really start unpicking everything layer by layer by layer. I started off as self-healing, but then I got to a point where I'm like, I need more support, because you can only get to a certain level with self-healing.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that had gone in my life. I hadn't realized how much all of that had impacted on me, from 2 traumatic childbirths, from postnatal depression to suffering from depression, not once, not twice, about 3 or 4 times, having a very difficult time after marriage with my father-in-law, where there was domestic violence involved. My time as a child was amazing. I loved my childhood in Africa, but then the uprooting from Africa to UK from a young age, that was very tough. And I hadn't realized how much all of this, however, there was also a lot of trauma. Although my childhood was great in Africa, I was also in the center of massive riots.
Yeah.
So there was so much fear, which is why my nervous system was always in hypervigilance mode, which was increasing. So my body did not know any different of not being out of high cortisol levels.
Wow.
And that all had started to compact all throughout my life. And then every other thing that was happening, every other trauma that was happening on top of that was just adding on.
That's a compound effect. So, okay, let me ask you this. So your journey to from where you are, where you were to where you are, has been a lot of self-awareness, a lot of questioning, a lot of peeling back the layers, trying to understand who you are as a soul and as a spirit, rather than all the titles like mom, therapist, this, that, and the other, right? Wife, whatever else it is. So I want to go back to that health issue you spoke about. So you intuitively knew something was wrong with you. Yet the doctors were like, no, you're fine, you're depressed, take this pill. No, you're fine, you've got reflux, take this pill. So you were literally plastering pill upon pill. So did you sort that out?
I
What?
did.
Yeah. Okay.
I healed myself from depression. I healed myself from reflux.
Yeah.
I healed myself from leaky gut. I healed myself from quite a few chronic health problems that I had. And most recently, I've actually done a lot more work with chronic anemia because that's something that I had from childhood. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that was new, but that was actually linked to my ancestors as well. So
Wow.
I've recently just done a lot of work around healing my bloodline through ancestry healing. And yes, I was taking, so I was also, I think around the age of 13 or so, I was diagnosed with pulmonary TB.
Okay.
So I was on chemotherapy for like 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
So that was about 23 to 25 pills for breakfast every single day, which had a massive effect on somebody who's only 13, who's literally just come from Africa into a
Mm.
new place. Mum was working about 3 or 4 different jobs. I was going to school. My older sibling was going to school. My youngest sibling was only about 3 when we came. So both between my elder one and myself, we were also caring for her as mum was going out to work. My dad was struggling when he came here. So he wasn't in the right space to be like looking for work or anything that stands. So mum was doing it all. So seeing your mum doing all of that, you were like, wow, I have to do something as well. So I started to take on a lot more roles even at that age.
Mm.
But what happened was when I started to take a lot of that chemo and then steroids and stuff obviously affected my health, my in a way that like my body, my skin, and then you start your periods as well at the same
Yeah.
time. So you can imagine like, and all of this was so hard to go through and navigate because you were in school age. So first of all, people are kind of mocking you in a way because of your accent, because I had a bit of an African accent with me at that point.
Mm.
Um, Life is very different here compared to back in Africa. The way
Yeah.
children are, the way the dynamics are between friends is very different.
I can imagine.
And what I found was I started to become more and more disconnected from girls and women because I found that it was very, very, even through college, I just found that the same girls within your group would actually talk about each other in a negative way. And I was like, oh my God, like why are they doing this if they're friends?
Mm-hmm.
So I started to step back and I started to then feel that actually women are very horrible towards each other. Girls are very horrible towards each other.
Okay.
And you know, through my and that carried on. And even as I got older and I started to have certain friendships with like women and girls and stuff, there was
Yeah.
always issues. And even when going through this whole health issues, for example, around depression and whatever, it felt like these friend circles just dispersed.
Mm.
Like I just felt alone.
Can I ask, why do you think that women, especially girls in school, have this habit of being that way with each other, like, being friends, but talking behind each other's backs? Do you think that's inherited from the society around us or the people? Do you think that our ancestors or even our parents are pitting us against each other? Like, why do you think that women are like this or girls are like this?
As I started doing a lot of work around the feminine wounds and healing the sisterhood wounds on myself to do,
Mm,
you know, I mean, what I do today is literally a result of a very, very deep inner work that I've been doing and the journey I've been on. And
mm,
as I started to heal a lot of the sisterhood wounds and women wounds and
yeah.
mother wounds and all of that, yes, there's some elements that do come through our the genetics in our family. A lot of it is to do with the society, the patriarchy.
Yeah.
You know, women are known to be very powerful forces. And what happens over time is because of society, because of patriarchy, women started to be made to feel like they have to be like men.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of it came from. And if you look at it, it's all to do with tribes, isn't it? Either you fit in a tribe or you don't fit in a tribe. And this is where a lot of people pleasing comes in. This is where a lot of doubt comes in. Self-doubt in women comes from that space of, oh, if I don't do what they've asked me to do, if I don't do it to a specific level, that perfectionism, this is where all of it comes from. If I don't do it in a specific way, then I'm not going to be accepted by my tribe. And if I'm not accepted by my tribe, I'm killed. That's what used to happen years and years ago. And that's followed through as well.
Yeah. So the sisterhood wound, the witch wound. So there's one thing I want to ask, actually, when you mentioned tribe, something popped into my head. So, I've heard this kind of, back in the day, there used to be these red tents. So that when women would bleed at time of the month, they would literally go into this red tent, and that's where they would be. And obviously women were then making connections, and they became stronger together, and the patriarchy hated that, and then scrapped, I guess, the red tent, and then made women, well, you have to work. You don't get time to do self-care for yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So red tents was an amazing concept. Honestly, if we go back years and years and years ago, this is how women were. Women were in circles. Women held each other. Women had each other's backs. Like, there was no tearing each other down. Instead, it was like, do you know what? We nurture each other. And the whole point and purpose of Red Tent was, it was that time of deep self-care and nurturing. And women did it together. They held space for each other. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful ritual or process or whatever you want to call it, just coming together, holding space for each other, being there for each other. And it wasn't just the whole patriarchy stuff as well. It's that side of things about it. Sorry, I'm going to go back. It wasn't just about women have to go work. The men during those times started to see the power of the women, because women in olden days, like women going generationally back thousands and thousands of years ago, they were either healers, they were medicine women, they were witches. And witches comes from the word of a woman with wisdom and wise. She's wise and she's got wisdom. That's what the word witch is. But they changed it. They twisted everything. And that's why I always say to people, whose truth are you connected to? The real truth or the made up truth? So my whole kind of concept on all of that, and again, through the process of the journey I've been on and the depths that I've studied as to what's been going on, whether it was the paganism or the patriarchy and all of that, women started to be made to feel that they're dirty and filthy every time that they were bleeding. That's where a lot of these issues have come from. And then they started to be made to, that's when they also then went through the process of starting to become like against each other. That's where competition and comparison started to come in as well.
Okay.
You're better looking than I am, or oh, she's better than you. So the men started to shift, the patriarchy started to shift, society started to shift, generations started to shift.
Wow.
And this whole thing started to disperse. And this is what the work I do now in my circles is, bringing these women back together where they should be.
It is. It really is. I want to talk about something you just said. Your real truth or the made up truth. So you also mentioned earlier that, you did Reiki in your 20s and you felt, and then obviously suddenly you were disconnected. So would you say that is to do with this matrix we're living in, this 3D life that we have, like, getting on with work, having to drop our kids to school, cooking, cleaning, and just doing this life without purpose? Is that what you're talking about when you're talking about the made up truth? And what is the real truth?
So what I'm talking about, so let me just go back, what you mentioned about when I got introduced to Reiki in my 20s. It was interestingly enough, like I had gone with, so as I was working as an occupational therapist in the hospital, and one of the other OTs said to me, oh, this is what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, let's go. So I didn't even tell my mum where I was going. I just said, I'm going with my friend for a weekend. And off we went to Brighton. Beautiful, like, farmhouse. And we were doing Sundance. We were doing Reiki. And I was like, yeah, this is what I feel like. I know something here. And that's when it connected. And then as I came back, I started to buy some crystals. And then that point again, people around me were like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then I just started to plug into, or maybe it's just me going a bit crazy. Maybe it's just me. So I didn't, because it wasn't given enough kind of acknowledgement like it is now.
Yeah.
That point I was like, and then my mum was like, she chucked all of my stuff away. I think after I got married, she just literally chucked everything away. So I just felt like that was nothing, that was just me going through a silly phase.
Yeah.
So that was one part of it. My mum now completely sees the different part of it, and she just she's all on board with everything that I do now. In fact, she was actually one of my first paying clients for my healing circles.
That's incredible, right?
Let's talk about the truth, the real truth, or the made up truth. The highest truth is creator's truth. Okay. If we look back again, generations and generations, it's like Chinese whispers, right? Whatever the real truth was, they've been told to somebody else. That person has then added a little bit of their own stuff. That's been told to somebody else. They've been added a little bit extra to their stuff. So what I'm talking about is, it's like when this matrix world that we're living in, this 3D matrix that we're living in, what you see is not always the truth. What you hear is not always the truth. Your inner wisdom, your inner guide knows what the highest truth is. And this is where, yes, absolutely, so many people have forgotten what it feels like to take that space and time out for themselves, because they feel that is being lazy.
Yeah.
Right? Rest is been known to look at, you're lazy. And it's not. Rest is the most productive thing you do, especially as women.
Yeah.
For women to connect with that power that's within them, for the intuition, for the wisdom, for that guidance that's within them. How are you going to do it when you're constantly in this hustle bustle society that we're living in and not giving yourself time?
Yeah. We've become human doings. We're not human beings anymore. That's it.
And your soul has the answers. And for you to connect with the real truth and the highest truth, you have to go inwards, not externally. So how do you identify between what the real truth and what it's like? People say to me, how do you identify the difference between intuition and ego? How do you know? And that was a question that I always had. How do I know that this is my intuition speaking and this is my ego speaking?
How do you know?
There's a difference, but you have to be very aware of this. This is where awareness is massive. Intuition comes in at a spur of a moment, very gentle, and not aggressively, not pushing. It will come through when you're doing something, when you're in like a meditative state, or also you could just be cooking, or you could just be walking and you hear a little voice and you're like, that's intuition. Whereas ego is the constantness. Should be doing this, should be doing that. No, ignore that. That person's horrible to you. So why should you be nice to them? Like be aggressive towards them, start shouting back towards them. That's not what intuition will tell you. Intuition will tell you, yes, you have your boundaries. Yes, you respect your boundaries, but they won't tell you go and be what that other person has done to you, do the same back to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Why should you change yourself? One thing I've always been known to be a very kind person, a very giving person. Those are my values. Those are my attributes. Those are what we call my virtues. And I never stopped being that person.
No.
Because that is me. But what I'd learned was I needed to put boundaries in place.
Yeah.
I needed to stop saying yes to everyone. I needed to stop allowing myself to be available to everyone whenever they wanted me to.
Yeah. And I think it's only when we start putting boundaries in place do we create space for
Absolutely.
ourselves to go inwards, to listen to our intuition, to stop hearing ego, right? And to start channeling things that just come through us. Like the amount of times I've seen you channel is, well, I've always got my eyes closed because I'm in a meditative state, but like I can just vision this channeling going through you, right? And you can't do that if you're busying yourself by thinking this is what I should do, this is what I should do, and living in this 3D matrix. So space, rest that we deem as lazy, you're right, is so important.
And it's the inner work, and it's the healing of this inner work. It's a healing of our shadows. It's being aware, where, ask yourself, like, if somebody's doing something, are you envious of them, or are you able to step in and be happy for them as well? Because what you seek, if you want something that somebody else has, if you're envious, then that's the wrong vibration you're putting out there.
Yeah.
You actually celebrate that with them and say, do you know what, universe, I'd love to be that kind of a person.
Yeah.
Universe will be like, aha, that's what you want. But this is where you've got to work on the inner work. When I talk about inner work, I'm not just saying, go for a massage and off you go. I'm talking about the depths of the work that we do, the depths of, okay, where is that jealousy coming from? Where is that resentment coming from? Where's that anger coming from? Where's that guilt coming from? Where's that shame coming from? All those things. And there's a lot of these things within the women as sisterhood wounds. These are massive wounds. So in order for you to really connect with your true intuition, this is again where your chakra work comes in as well. And this is where, Reiki, yes, did change my life, but theta healing has completely transformed my life.
Yeah.
And this is where I bring in these modalities, and my signature framework of how I work with clients is bringing in these different modalities, but I kind of like get guided and I get channeled, as you've said, like I get channeled through in the session of what needs working on and how you can be guided and supported. But for you to be connected with what the real truth is, for you to be connected to your intuition, for you to be connected to not even connected, but for you to have that awareness of what's going on, you gotta go inwards, not outwards.
Yeah. To be within, to be without, isn't it? Or something, that's the saying,
The
isn't it?
journey within.
To go within, to be
Everything
without.
begins within.
Yeah.
You
Abundance begins within, freedom begins within, everything.
Look at your own relationship with yourself.
Yeah. 100%.
We have relationships with, like I'm married, I have my husband, but there are people who have relationships with different people. If something's not right, rather than just pointing the finger and blaming, saying, okay, let's look at what's going on within.
Yeah. And I think, that's where the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer is actually very, very useful. Even if you don't really know what it means, it's a very useful prayer, right? I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's taking responsibility of everything around you, and saying, okay, well, it was my cause that made that effect in that, my reaction created that, actually.
Or a thought, or and it works both ways, doesn't it? It's like they always said, and this was another thing that I could never understand, that nobody can ever nobody can ever upset you or create your emotions that you have. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, now I get it. Because when you're internally at peace with your own self in your inner world, doesn't matter what's going on. Your external life is chaos. I'm not going to sit there saying it's roses. It is chaos and it's crazy. Yeah. That's why we're here. We're here as spiritual beings in a physical body, having a human experience. We're here to experience both our spiritual connection, but also our earthly connection. You can't have one without the other. You can't be more in one and less in the other, because that's a complete disconnect.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be fully present here on this earth. Connect. Yes, there's stuff going on around you. Be aware, but don't get plugged into it.
Yeah, I love that. So can we just talk about the kind of methodologies that you do use, and also the kind of work you are doing now, leaning more into the feminine?
Yeah, so everyone knows about Reiki healing. We all know Reiki works very much, it's our chi energy, our prana, our life force energy. And a lot of the time Reiki is combined with all of our chakras, right? So we have our seven main chakras in the body, and that's our life force energy. And chakras are like the, centers. They're like the cogwheels that keep things turning. Now, if
Mm.
there's a block or if there's an imbalance, then that life force energy is going to stop. Now, with your chakras, every chakra governs a different gland or a organ or, different emotions.
Hmm.
Now, any time that you're experiencing any kind of discomfort or pain in your body, that is a big signal. Pain in the body is a big signal there's something going on emotionally,
Okay.
because pain is that's the only way your body can tell you, hey, give me some attention. So many people, and again, when I used to suffer from migraines and headaches, I mean, the neurological medication I was on used to make me feel worse, but I used to take it, and I came off all of that through this healing work and through healing all of the deeper wounds that I had within me. But Reiki helps with bringing your body back into kind of like an inner balance and a harmony. It's bringing your mind, body, soul.
And you
It
can
does go,
open your chakras right through
yeah,
Reiki as
and it
well.
helps
Yeah.
to open. However, what I want people to also understand, and I hope they get this message through what we're doing today, is yes, you can have your Reiki session, but be prepared to also do the work from what Reiki will bring up for you.
Mm.
It's the same as when you go for a massage. When you're going for a physical body massage, yes, it's relaxing, but there'll be a lot of the time people are, oh my God, felt really sick after a massage. Of course you will, because if you've got all of that clogginess in your body, which is being released through your lymphatic system,
Yeah.
it's coming out. And when it's coming out of your body, you're going to feel worse before you get better. So Reiki is one, and I've done the traditional Usui Reiki, and then I also trained as a angelic Reiki as well.
Okay.
And I love doing angelic Reiki. I always feel the presence of angels as well, and I work with them on a daily basis. And so I trained as that. Now I've been an occupational therapist for over 20 years. And as occupational therapists, we've always been holistic practitioners.
Mm.
And the reason why I actually now left the NHS in August last year was because it wasn't in alignment with my true values of who I am as a practitioner
Yeah.
and who I am as a therapist. So, as an occupational therapist, we always look at an individual as a whole. We look at how their spiritual beliefs, their core beliefs, their values, their environment, their physical being, their mental well-being. We look at everything. We don't just look at a small part of you. We look at everything. We look at how everything affects your ability to engage in your
Mm.
occupation. Your occupation can be anything. Your occupation could be a mother. Your occupation could be, working in a role. Occupation is anything that you do.
Yeah.
We look at how all of that is impacting your ability to engage in that occupation.
Mm.
So your health problems, your mental health problems, your physical health problems, your emotional health, all of that gets involved in it. So the National Health Service is a very medical based model.
Yeah.
Now they are starting to slowly intervene with some of the holistic interventions. But at that stage, at the stage when I left, it just was not in alignment. And I know I was able to support individuals from a much better space, doing
Yeah.
things the way I was doing. So I bring in a lot of my occupational therapy work into what I do. I bring in the Reiki healing into what I do. And then I certified as a life coach as well, a breathwork coach, mindfulness, meditation. These were things that I was always using, especially when I was working in cardiothoracics and transplant, heart and lung transplant patients. It was because it's a big thing for them. It's a lot of trauma from them. So
Yeah.
doing meditation, breathwork, all that was part of what I was doing at the hospital anyway with them.
Right.
Even after cardiac problems, even after like for pulmonary rehab, we used to do a lot of meditation and stuff with them as well. What I then trained in, which kind of put into my path, And this is the magic of when you start working inwards, and the more you surrender to the mysteries of the unknown, you allow yourself to be open to what is exactly meant to be for you. If I'd started to control everything, wanting to know the outcome of everything, I wouldn't be where I am today. I surrendered to the mysteries of the unknown. So theta healing came into my path, and I remember, because I knew there was always something more beyond Reiki, and I knew there was something deeper. And I'd surrendered, and I'd basically written out and said it out to the universe. That's it. Bring me the right mentor, the right spiritual guide mentor who's going to guide me through what I'm doing. Somebody who's been through the stuff themselves in order to guide me to the level, because I know I can only hold space and heal my clients as deep as I've actually met myself on my own journey.
100%.
So I started, and lo and behold, in a couple of months after I'd put that out, my mentor arrived in front of me. And it was truly, when I say it's magical, it is magical. And I now work with my mentor. I've been working with her since 2021, latter part of 2021.
Okay.
And I'm doing all of my trainings with her through theta. Now, theta healing is an exceptional, transformational energy healing modality. And the lady Viana, who channeled this whole healing modality and program, she was herself going through health problems, and she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And a rare form of cancer where they basically said to her, there's nothing we can do for you anymore.
Wow.
Nothing at all.
So does something happened? I feel like there's a magical story here.
Yeah, she was Viana as a psychic. She was downloaded all of this whole modality, and she implemented this modality onto her. She was given 4 days to live, and that woman is living her life right now.
Wow.
She's still teaching. She's teaching theta healing. She's got lots of theta healing is like, a main modality, but there's lots and lots of different modules within that. So that's what I've been trained in. And I'm an advanced theta healing practitioner, and I'm doing a lot of other things under that as well. So what a big part, because health is a massive area for me, I've trained in intuitive anatomy. So understanding, and I'm like your physical x-ray, if you can call it that. So I basically scan your body, and we can see what's going on, from like your blood cells to your lymphatic system to your bones, and it's just incredible. And then I'm going to be doing diseases and disorders towards latter part of this year, so that then combines it together. So you're looking at a physical health problem more from a metaphysical point of view, looking at what are the emotions, what are the patterns and behaviors associated with it.
Wow.
So it's not just a physical health problem that you're experiencing. There's a lot more beyond it.
Of course, yeah.
So with theta healing, we basically go through to your subconscious, and from your subconscious, we start tapping into your emotional, your physical, all of those kind of whatever's going on, and we start releasing from the root cause layers. And that is healing at an ancestry level, your genetic level, your past life, your childhood, your historical level. There's loads of different levels that we need to heal on. And that's why I find it that it's been life transforming, because it's worked on all different levels, not just one level. So that is a big, big part of what I do with the work that I do. And leading on from that, I've done a lot of masculine wound healing as well.
Okay.
This is what I always say to people. We're not just feminine or masculine, we're both.
Both.
Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, you have both masculine and feminine within you.
100%.
Last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, I've spent a lot of healing the masculine wounds, because I used to be in my masculine all the time.
Oh, okay.
My feminine was completely shut off. I was always in the masculine, the hustle.
Yeah.
Constantly keep going. I'm like that force and this and that.
Yeah.
So now I've been over since middle of last year, and going now deep, I've been working with a lot of the feminine wounds, like I said, the sisterhood wounds, the motherhood wounds, the feminine energy. And now I'm stepping into the priestess work, because I was shown in my past life, I was actually a priestess, an Egyptian priestess, and I was doing a lot of healing work I do a lot of work with goddess Isis as well. And I'm working with a lot of the sacred feminine goddesses right now as well.
Wow.
So I'm right now doing a lot of my priestess work training, where we're doing a lot more deeper womb work, healing work, because a lot of women hold a lot in their wombs.
Yes, we do.
So that's kind of like my journey going forward, which I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited because I'm able to bring that forward to a lot of our women.
Yeah.
Because our sacred feminine allows you to really connect with that essence of who you truly are, being your authentic self, being grounded. We talk about the wild woman. That wild woman, it's got nothing to do with being sexual at all. That wild woman is that strength that's within you as a feminine, but you're nurturing, you're caring, you're compassionate, you're holding space for yourself, you're taking that time for you. This is what the next phase of what I'm doing is now.
So inspirational. I'm so excited to like start working with the priestess and all priestesses with you and stuff as we move forward on this journey. So okay, so we are going to wrap up soon, but what I want to ask you is there, so someone who is, say, new to the spiritual awakening path, or has just started like the questioning or the self-awareness and the things that I used to do at 8 years old, like, why are we here, like those kind of things, I started young asking those questions and obviously got disconnected as we went through uni and school and everything. But what would be your one tip for someone who is just starting their spiritual awakening journey? Because obviously we've talked about a lot of deep stuff. What would you say to them is their next step in terms of kind of coming home to themselves?
That's a really good question. One thing I will highly, and I say this with, deep kind of care for every single person, because like I said, for me, whoever I work with, their mental health is so important for me. Find the right person who's going to support you.
Yeah.
Who's done the work and who's going to support you, because a lot of people are awakening, but a lot of people are still plugged into the wrong side of things. And because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So first of all, find a right circle that will support you. Find the right mentor or a guide who will support you, who's done the work. And trust yourself. If something within you is saying that feels wrong, listen to it.
Yeah.
When you're first starting all of this, be curious. As children are curious. They were not nosy or naughty. That's what they got labeled as. They're curious. Start becoming curious. Start questioning. Well, why is this happening? Or what does this mean?
Yeah.
To start something for yourself, even for yourself at home, to start this spiritual journey. And I want people to also understand there's a difference between spirituality and religion.
100%.
A lot of people will be like, but I'm not religious. You don't have to be religious to be spiritual. Spirituality is knowing that there's a higher force than you here. And it's you connecting with that higher force and the higher self, having that trust and faith that no matter what's going on, you're being guided. And there's a reason for everything that's happening for you, not to you, but for you. So start questioning with, okay, what's been going on in my life? There are some books that are out there that will really help you. I mean, Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life and Heal Yourself is a great one. There's quite a few different ones that are out there on spirituality. There's a lot of podcasts out there that will help you with spirituality and stuff to start your journey. But if you truly want to understand it from day one, if you truly want to start understanding it from day dot and want to embark on that journey knowing that you are guided in the right way, you're safe and you're protected and you're held, then definitely find somebody who's going to be able to support you, who's been through that themselves and be able to support you. Look for circles around you if there is, or look for groups of women around you who are doing this.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I would say just get everything out of your head and onto paper. Get
Yes,
it
brain
out of your
dumping is
body.
amazing.
Yeah, get it out of your body, whether it's anxiety, nerves, whatever it is going on in your head, it's going on in your body at the same time. Get it out, right? And then you can have that space within the body as well.
Yeah. Awareness is the big thing, and you can have awareness through mindfulness.
Yeah.
Sit down with yourself for 5 minutes. Don't judge. Accept that moment that you're in right now. Accept how it is. If you're
Yeah.
feeling anxious, if you're feeling angry, accept it. Be
Amazing.
the observer. Just to accept what's going on. That is your key. The key to anything is your awareness, because without awareness, you're not going to do anything.
100%. Become aware, start questioning, and start the self-improvement journey. And then you genuinely will be guided into whichever direction, modality that you need. The people will come to you. The master will appear when the student is ready, as they say,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
All
Totally
right,
agree.
Chin. So if someone wants to work with you or follow you or find you, how do they do that? Can you share your socials?
Yeah, so I hang out a lot on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is at Chintal_Kakaya. And you can also, if you go on my website, you can sign up to my newsletter as well. And I do host healing circles, women's healing circles, mainly West London based. And I do offer some online healing sessions as groups as well. And then there is the one-to-one side of it as well. So there's different ways people can work. But if they want to first dip their feet into kind of what I do and experience it, then the circles are the best place for them to start. So yeah, if anybody is interested, then if you go on my Instagram, there's loads of links up there in the bio. You can kind of look at what I'm offering and what's coming up, and this, and just kind of get in touch and just say hello. Like, seriously, I am on Instagram. Even if I don't reply straight away, I will come back to you. So yeah, just connect with me on Instagram.
So just to repeat that, it was Chintal_Kakaya. Yeah. Amazing. Well, Chintal, thank you so much for your time. It's been so lovely. I mean, we could talk for hours, but it's been so lovely having you on this podcast. Yeah, I'm just blessed that you're in my life. That's what I can say, really.
Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. And I actually feel blessed that I get to work with amazing souls, because, as I always say, one thing is, when you work with me, as I rise, you rise with me. And that's the promise that I keep for everyone.
100%. I love it. So guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. You can obviously follow myself, Unlimited Urvashi, on Instagram and Facebook. And then you've got browngirl.rising, should you want to follow us as well on Instagram, and Brown Girl Rising, the Facebook group, should you want access to watch this podcast live without any edits. So thank you so much. And guys, we will speak soon.